Alright boys, let's talk about the best teams in the East. We did this for the West, we do it for the East now. And similar to that vid, I will still do notes on more than just the very top teams, but they're of course going to get the most time in this video. And I gotta start with the Cavs, who continue to just beat everybody. Well, besides the Hawks for some reason. They've only lost 4 games all season, and my takeaway with them is different depending on the game, where you look at like their last one against the Lakers, they had so many good plays where Garland or Mitchell or Karis LeVert would use like a screen or a handoff action with one of the bigs, a lot of the time Jared Allen, and then they would do something to engage Anthony Davis just for a second longer, whether it's like an extra step into the paint, a little pump fake, an in-and-out dribble, whatever it might be, to just hold Davis for a second longer to where Jared Allen could then get better position for a dunk, a layup, whatever. Like that was really good. Like Jared Allen made almost all of his shots in that Laker game. Or like Mitchell getting AD to play high up on a screen action because of his threat as a pull-up shooter, and then it's a very quick pocket pass to Allen, who's then good enough off the dribble to finish it at the rim, even if he caught it like above the free throw line. Then in that same game, Mobley made a couple of threes. He had a couple of great post moves on Austin Reeves or LeBron, just hitting him with a bunch of up fakes. He also had a nice face-up drive on Rui. We all know that Mobley has just had growth from everywhere, a little bit more from 3, better self-creator this year, getting more physical on guys if he's got space to drive into, more post fakes and hook shots and whatever. Laker fans also after that one game were like, all right, please start Dorian Finney-Smith over Rui now, so we'll see there. Mitchell made a bunch of threes, and then Niang as well as Max Strus combined for like 6 for 11 from 3. Then you had the Denver game where they scored, 149 points, where I felt like Garland made a million pull-up twos or floaters versus Jokic dropping back on screens, but then like I remember a play where Mitchell gets Jokic to play high up on a screen, and then that results in Allen getting open in the middle of the floor, which becomes a lob to Mobley because MPJ is just the only guy on the back line. Then you also had Mitchell beating what felt like a lot of time Westbrook or Christian Brown or some Jamal Murray off the dribble and just creating for himself or other guys. Like it sounds simple, but well, sometimes it doesn't have to be that complicated. Mobley made 4 threes in that game. And then also you had Dean Wade, LeVert, and Sam Merrill going 9 for 12 from 3. And I love whenever they do like a Dean Wade, Donovan Mitchell screen action, which can create something for kind of anybody on the floor. Or Sam Merrill's just flying around and any ounce of daylight he's going up with it. But then, like, if we can go back to the defense, you had their recent one against the Warriors where, Steph didn't shoot well from the field, and a lot of his missed shots were contested by either more so Jared Allen on, like, switches or just getting high up there on screens, but also Mobley for some as well. Mobley had a great switch and contest on the drive that Steph had. In that second quarter especially, man, to open it up, it was like Mobley has a great defensive, 5 minutes where he's, contesting Kuminga on drives or, again, switching onto Steph or whatever. And then Allen comes in the game, and then he basically does the same thing for his own stretch. Switching onto Kuminga, contesting TJD at the rim, blocking Schroeder from behind on a drive. The Warriors scored 11 points in the second quarter in that game. And I still remember the second time they played the Celtics this year where the Celtics were up double digits in the fourth quarter, and then Mitchell drops 20 off of just signature Mitchell tough jumpers, and then that put the whole Celtics defense out of whack to where other guys were getting things. They're really good. It's happening on both sides of the floor. They're beating everybody. They're going to get the 1 seed. And the Cavs are about to play the Thunder on January 8th, and luckily that game is now a national game. Next, we're going to go to my NBA champion Boston Celtics, who just happened to lose to the Thunder, and they scored 20 points in the whole second half. It was crazy. The story of that game for me was once Isaiah Joe was out of the game and the Celtics didn't have anybody they could attack, and it was more of Aaron Wiggins, Kenny Hustle getting more of those minutes, and then obviously J-Dub and Lou Dort and stuff, and then Hart protecting the rim. They just had nowhere to go. The Thunder were switching. They're bringing doubles occasionally. They're getting into passing lanes. It was crazy to watch the Celtics just be so hesitant on offense, and of course SGA went nuts. Before that game, they totally locked up the Rockets with the thing I remembered being the front court of Luke Kornet and Porzingis in the second half, not allowing Şengün or any of the Rockets really to score inside. Porzingis had a couple of really good possessions having to guard farther out against Jalen Green. Cam Whitmore was just bad. After their win against the Wolves, Anthony Edwards was complaining about double teams, and then they had some losses to the Pacers, the Sixers, the Bulls, the Magic, with obviously no Franz and no Paolo, where it felt like they just kind of took their foot off the gas some. And so while I have no real concerns other than just hopefully Porzingis is healthy in the playoffs, I do think this stretch made it to where they're not going to get the 1 seed, and also the Knicks are not too far behind them. I mean, you're going to get the Knicks in round 2 most likely here, and I'm just imagining a 1-1 series with Game 3 and MSG, and yeah, you're going to be favored to win that, but still, you got to go do it. And that's again assuming they keep the 2 seed. Speaking of the Knicks, there's been some developments since the last time I talked about them. It was established very early on their offense is elite, all the spacing the Cat provides for them, and that there's not really a perfect counter to any sort of Brunson Cat 2-man game, because either Cat's going to be able to take you off the dribble or attack a switch or just shoot if he's got space, and then Brunson's great Josh Hart's assist numbers continue to grow. OG continues to be OG. We love that. A couple things are, Mikal has gotten to going more on offense, and the Knicks' defense has been better. Now, as I say that, they did just get torched by the Bulls. We'll talk about the defense. And also, with Tibbs and his rotations, there might be little glimpses of possibly some depth between Precious and Shamet being back to go with the kind of spotty, but he does still play in every game, campaign minutes, and then of course Deuce, who has been out the last couple of games. Now, as I say this, like in the Thunder game, all their starters played over 40 minutes. In the recent Jazz game, it was a similar thing, but they're really good. They've won a whole bunch of games lately. Let's go to Mikal. He shot over 40% from 3 in December. He doesn't go off from 3 in every game, but it's trending upwards for him. The other thing is, through his own aggressiveness on drives, cuts, and the Knicks putting him in some actions, sometimes in the half court, he's able to get into his signature shot, which is that short fadeaway where it's either on the border of the paint or sometimes even in the paint. And so looking at some of his recent games, like he's got hard, just straight line drives, whether it's attacking off the catch or a screen action, DHO, whatever, going at like Josh Giddey or Colin Sexton or Devin Vassell. He had a physical back down on SGA in the Thunder game. He had another one against, I don't remember who it was. And then he's also just been either cutting off of, well, anything. He's always been a great cutter, but like cat in the post or a Brunson cat two-man game or whatever. And then just some good old off-ball screens where he can catch and go into his, again, the pull-up fading two. And sometimes like a turnaround around the paint as well for Mikal. Good stuff. Let's talk the defense. So, again, they did just lose to the Bulls. Before that, I thought their first half, especially against the Thunder, was pretty damn good on defense. I mean, they were rolling against OKC until a disastrous fourth quarter of Aaron Wiggins threes and putting Brunson in screen actions. And then similar to the Celtics, the Knicks offense just kind of froze up late where I think Cat only got like one shot attempt. It was a post-up on J-Dub. Besides that, they just never really found him. But in that game, I thought Mikal's screen navigation on a good amount of SGA screen actions was really good. Like SGA still scored in that game, but he shot like below 50%, which is tough to do for most teams against SGA right now, right? And, Mikal blocked him one time on a drive that was great, or just many plays were because Mikal or, sometimes OG were able to get around the screens. They were able to contest him or even just get him to pass out of a shot that would otherwise just be an open look for him. He also had the T-Wolves game where, the Wolves did miss some open shots, or they did just miss like pull-up jumpers against Cat dropping back on screens, but I also thought the Knicks had some really good help defense plays where Mikal is staying on DiVincenzo enough off of the screen, and then OG is helping out of the corner, and then you've still got Cat at the rim to where Dante just has nowhere to go. I think he just loses the ball. There are the signs that their defense is just improving. Now, look, you look at the recent Bulls one, they did still have some threes where I felt like the help out of the wing or the corner was just a little too much. Now, as I say that, like Kobe White went nuts off the dribble from 3, and typically, even if you don't guard a guy well, he'll usually not go 9 for 11 from outside, but there were definitely some not super heavily contested looks in there. Josh Giddey also just went 3 for 3 from outside. Every team is going to dare him to beat them from outside. And then Vooch cooked them because apparently Vooch just cooks the Knicks. He's usually just able to work in one-on-ones, whether it's Cat or a switch, and, it's off of a screen action, so Cat's got to get back to him, whatever. So yeah, they are now 15th in defense for the season. If you go last 15 games, they are 8th in defensive rating in that stretch. They're bunched up there with a lot of teams, but trending upwards. I think they're very good. We will see with Mitch. There have been some Cat with Precious lineups. It's cool stuff. Okay, so at the risk of disrespecting the rest of the Eastern Conference, I think after those 3 teams, there's a bit of a something after that. So with the Magic, look, it is admirable as hell that they're like 5-7 without Paolo and without Franz. And hopefully Franz can come back, or Paolo is going to come back first here. Hopefully he can come back in some amount of time. I think we all realize that the Magic, when healthy, are a great defensive team with Paolo and Franz. Like, that is a team that you got to worry about, but until we see it, it's just like, you can applaud them for what they're doing. They're still a great defensive team. It seems like no matter who the hell is actually out for them, but yeah, hopefully we can see it. Now we go to the Bucks. Giannis is, of course, amazing. Dame is Dame. It feels like Middleton is one of the bigger X factors the rest of the way, and he now is going to miss a game versus the Raptors with ankle tendonitis, and we know he got surgery on both of those ankles. They just lost to the Nets. Obviously, that's not good. For the season overall, they've trended upwards defensively, and then with how good Giannis is, I would like to think that they're good. I know they've lost 4 of 5, but they also did not have Giannis for some of those games. They're like 15-8 after their 2-8 start to the season. They feel like a good team that needs their best player to really be their best player every game. One that can be frustrating if you're watching them game after game as a Bucks fan. Now, with respect to some other teams in the East, we're going to go to the Sixers next. So Philly is going to keep climbing the standings. With that said, they look pretty good on Christmas versus the Celtics. Against the Warriors, they looked pretty slow. Then they blow out the Nets, and now Embiid is out for the game versus the Suns, which, when I'm doing this, it's tonight. But if you're watching this, the game might have already happened. So I don't know. I mean, PG has got to be one of the bigger X Factor guys, if Middleton is as well. I mean, the whole damn team feels like an X Factor, this Sixer team. Jared McCain will be back at some point, right? Shout out Maxey. Okay, any random notes for the rest of the East? We all know what's going on in Miami right now. With Atlanta, I mean, DeAndre Hunter continues to cook. Jalen Johnson looks good. I think with Atlanta, they just need a better center than Capella and Okongwu. Sure, you need Reese Shea's development and all that, but yeah, shout out to the Pistons. The Jaden Ivey news sucks. Cade is an all-star, right? He's putting up like 25, 10, and 7. The Pacers, Halliburton has cooked in 3 of the last 4 games. We'll see there. The Bulls, if this front office plans on tanking, up to this point, there have not been a lot of signs. Like, we'll see if Vooch gets moved. There's a lot of Warrior stuff there. Obviously, Levine's just going to win you some games. Kobe White as well, like in the Knicks one. I mean, Levine also went nuts versus the Knicks, but yeah, I don't know, man. The Bulls are 16 and 19. We all know they'd want to move Levine, but it's tough. And then we have the tankathon at the bottom of the East between the Hornets, Raptors, Wizards, and Nets, which is the real story of the whole thing.